It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
All right, so we talked about the 20s. We talked about starting out your journey. Well, as is with most journeys, as you're on the path, it's not uncommon for things to get a little bit messy. And that's exactly what we call the 30s. We call it the messy middle.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate in the content meeting about this because we have used this before, and I like it because I've shared, and I feel like so much of the world and social media is telling everybody what they aspirationally should look like. And that, in a lot of ways, that creates shame and frustration from the reality that we all live in, because we call it the messy middle because, yes, in your 30s, you're figuring out career stuff a lot more, but that also means you have more responsibility. You're probably facing, you got married, you might be buying that first house, y'all might be thinking about or having grown a family, and all those things that happen pull on your time, your emotions, your financial resources, and it's overwhelming. I mean, we see people, and I know a lot of you go feel like I'm talking directly to you, and we are, because we've all experienced it. I want you to know it's going to get better. You just need to focus on what you can control and some of the things we're about to cover so that you make it through the messy middle and come out the other side in a much better place.
And look, I don't mind sharing. I am actually in this. I'm in the messy middle, right? That is sort of the life that I live in. Sometimes I need a reminder of the journey that I've already come on, because it's easy to get lost in the crazy day at work, and you come home and you get hit in the face by a couple kids, and it's just like life goes wild. You forget all the hard work that you've put in. So one of the things that we've put on our net worth statement, on the dashboard, that I think is maybe one of the most valuable things we've done, if you want a copy of yours, you can go to learn.moneyguide.com, is we actually show your net worth over time.
Yeah.
Because if you started back in your 20s tracking your net worth, what you've likely seen now is your assets have started to maybe increase. Your liquid assets, those things that you could actually get your hands on, have likely started to increase. Your liabilities hopefully have started to decrease, or maybe not. Maybe those have continued going up as well. But when you look at the differential, the difference in your assets and your liabilities, you can see that net worth, that thing that you're trying to build, is slowly ticking up over time. And you can take a breath and say,
yeah,
I did it. I'm doing okay. I'm moving in the right direction. I know life is crazy, but what I am doing is mattering, and it's moving me towards my ultimate goals.
So you were very comforting and you were very nice in what you said. I'm going to be a little harder on our 30-somethings because, if you went back and watched what I told 20-somethings, I gave them a lot of grace on their savings rates. And I said, look, if we tell you need to be saving and then putting that money to work through investing 20 to 25% of your gross income. And I said, look, in your 20s, you're probably not there because you're just figuring out this whole career journey. You 30-somethings, you need to be saving and investing 20 to 25%. I hate to give you the tough love, but I do think you're now old enough that it's required for your 50-year-old self to look at you and go, thank you, job well done, versus looking at you and going, what were you doing? I mean, how did you blow your 20s and then even your 30s, which was your redemption tour moment where you could have gotten this right? Don't blow this opportunity. You need to focus on saving and investing that 20 to 25% for your future.
Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that the 30-year-olds that I'm talking to, maybe you have been doing those things and you have been moving in the right direction. Well, one of the ways that we love to measure wealth, one of the ways we love to think about our progress is by figuring out what our accumulator score is. And we call it just the Money Guy Accumulator Score, which is age times income divided by the number of years till you're 40 plus 10. Well, we think that's such a valuable metric for you to keep track of. It's something that should stay so top of mind, in front of mind, that on our dashboard, on the net worth template that we're making available, we actually track your Money Guy Accumulator Score. So if you're somebody in your 30s, this is probably something you're going to hone in on, because when you first started doing it, you were probably well below 1. You weren't even an average accumulator of wealth. But maybe now you're getting close to that 1 level where you're an average accumulator. And hopefully you're moving closer and closer to where you're a 2.0, which will be a prodigious accumulator of wealth. I think in your 30s is when you actually start to feel like, oh man, this is working. This
Yeah.
thing that the guys talk about is actually moving me in the direction that I want to be moving.
We've spent a lot of time talking about the actual number components of your net worth statement and how you do the assets, you do the liabilities. I will tell you, part of the messy middle is because, like I said, you've got a spouse now. You potentially could have a growing family. I'm going to focus on something that's outside the numbers, which is actually the footnotes. If you want to talk about how the net worth is an incredible communication tool for your entire financial household, this is the part, because more than likely you are watching a financial podcast, watching YouTube, you're listening to a podcast, watching YouTube. You're kind of financially nerdy.
Sure.
I mean, let's just face it. Let's call it what it is. I'm nerdy. You're nerdy. We're all nerdy together. But you probably have a spouse, unless you brainwash them into watching this and enjoying the journey with you, that's not as tied into this whole thing as you are. The net worth is going to be the annual tradition, and using our net worth tool specifically allows you to have a footnote section where not only can you show them the assets and liabilities on the front page, but you can have the footnotes, which is great for the risk management side of it, talking about what assets, what insurance, what other things that just in case something happens to the primary financial person in the household, the other spouse is not left just trying to figure it all out without a roadmap to get there.
And look, you're probably saying, all right, I got life insurance, but I haven't done all this other stuff. I haven't done the wills. I'm 30. Odds are I'm not going to die. And if I die, there's enough money there. My spouse will be okay. And we both have life insurance. The kids will be okay. Well, think about, and whenever someone says that to me, I always ask them this question immediately. I say, hey, if something would happen to both of you tomorrow, who would take care of your kids? And oftentimes it's they kind of look at each other and there's like, oh, well, yeah, it'd be my sister. Right? No, my brother. Oh, well, what? And it's this way. And when it's difficult for you to solve that problem on this side of the grave, imagine how difficult it would be for your loved ones to try to figure that out. What I love about having a robust footnote section on my net worth statement is it shows me my deficiencies. Do I have something under life insurance? Okay, check. Do I have disability insurance? Okay, check. Do I have wills, estate documents, important people, important phone numbers? Okay, check. It reminds me of the things I need to not forget every single year.
Before we move past this, I would tell somebody, because this is something I've done personally. I've always done this net worth statement so my wife knows exactly what we have going on financially. We've also now married this to a password management app so that we can share our passwords, so that if something ever did happen, she could actually take my net worth tool that we use. We use the same one that we're offering to you guys on learn.moneyguy.com, and you can use that as the roadmap and then have those apps connected in a shared folder, so then your spouse has access to all those accounts. That is, I'm telling you, that's gold to make sure that you have good communication as well as access to everybody in your financial household.
Now, I don't think I've ever heard you call it this before, Brian, but you said the 30s, the messy middle, was the redemption tour.
Yeah.
It's where, okay, maybe you didn't get serious in your 20s, but you still have time. Here's why you still have time. Remember, for a 20-year-old, if they want to be a millionaire by the time they get to 65, they got to save about $95 a month. Well, if you wait until you're 30 years old, it's still doable.
Yeah.
You can't save $95 anymore to get there. You have to save $270 a month. But if you do that, and you do that consistently from the time you turn 30 all the way until the time you turn 65, when you get to retirement, you can be a millionaire.
I think it's worth also highlighting, because I just love showing people the power of compounding growth, is that once again, even though it's not as great as the 20-year-old that's doing $95 a month that can turn into $1 million, a 30-year-old doing $270 a month, if you do that for the 35 years into the future, you've only really invested $113,000. So to turn $113,000 into $1 million means that 89% of the growth of the millionaire status actually comes from your army of dollar bills working for you, harder than your hands can, harder than your back, your brains. Guys, that's why we call it the redemption tours, because that is still incredible. To get 90% growth, or right under 90% growth, means you should get excited that your dollar, every dollar that comes into your possession, can turn into something pretty daggum incredible.
All right, so the question then, Brian, is how are our peers doing? If I'm a 30-year-old, how are the other folks same age as me doing? Well, if we look at the median income of 30-year-olds in this country, it's about $47,766. And if you look at the median net worth, it's about $45,000 or so. So remember, we have these formulas that we love, age times income divided by 10 plus the number of years until you get to 40. So if we just use this $47,000, almost $48,000 income, and we assume someone is 35 years old, to be an average accumulator of wealth, you would need to have saved about $111,000 of total net worth. Or if you want to be a prodigious accumulator of wealth, you would want about double that amount at $223,000. Again, the way that we arrived at those numbers were through these formulas. Age times income divided by 10 plus the number of years until you get to 40.
When you had the avatar up, he was a nerdy looking guy. I think he might have had Starbucks in his hand or something.
He had some coffee in his hand. But in your 30s, you need that.
Look, I've already said it. In your 20s, I feel like I'm very grace-filled in the fact that I want you to look at the fact that your peers are broke so that you can control your FOMO, that you need to go boost your lifestyle, and so you can start focusing on what's important. When I see the 30-year-olds and I see how low the American numbers are, I'm kind of saddened by it. It's not as much as I hope it's aspirational. I hope that anybody who's watching this, will use this to know I need to focus on making sure I foundationally am building wealth in the background through saving and investing, minimizing liabilities, so that really your money can do all the hard work in the long term. I feel like that is greatly missed by the majority of Americans out there, unfortunately.
You're absolutely right. But it's not missed by all, right? So there are financial mutants out there that are doing this. So if you are in your 30s and you classify as a financial mutant, you want to track sort of how close am I to being that prodigious accumulator of wealth. Again, we just picked every age, 30 to 39, and we looked at 4 different income strata, making $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year. And then using the formula, this gives you an idea of where you should be at each of these ages and incomes. Remember, the median for someone in the 30s is about $45,000. But if you're a 35-year-old and you make $100,000 a year, you should not be at $45,000 to be a prodigious. You should be at almost $467,000 to be considered a prodigious accumulator of wealth.
So you can see lots of opportunity here. I love that we give you the metrics to actually compare and contrast, not just looking at your peers, because I don't want you comparing. I want you to maximize your potential financially, and that's why we are going to load you up with the tools. Remember, you can always go to moneyguy.com/resources for the free deliverables, things that we're showing like in today's show. And then if you really want to accelerate the process, go to learn.moneyguy.com, because that's where we actually have the financial order of operations course, and then even our net worth tool that I think is so powerful in tracking everything we're covering today.